Okay, so today I'm going to tell you about a tactic. The tactic is called clearance. And to demonstrate the tactic, I'm going to show you one of my games, actually. So this is a little exciting. If you want to see my game, it's actually published in this magazine right here. This is Chess Life from February of 2014, and it's on page 18 or so. Yeah, 18. So I submitted it, and Grandmaster Lev Albert decided to include it in the Chess Life magazine, and he put some comments on there too. And I'll go through some of them, but this is one of the first major tournament games that I played. It was in 2013 at Center 64 in Houston, and I was playing an opponent by the name of Sam Dillon. So October 11th, 2013, here in Houston, I was rated at the time 1470, and my opponent was rated 1670. So my opponent was rated 200 points higher than me. So that's quite a challenge. But this was my first tournament that was 120 D5. So 2 hours on each person's clock with a 5-second delay. And I'm old, I think a little slower, and it really benefited me from having more time to think. I won this game, but it started out kind of badly because I didn't really know what I was doing. So let's get into the game, and I will explain stuff as we go along. So my opponent started with a, I don't want to flip the board. My opponent, or I started with e4. This is pretty much how I always open. My opponent started e6. This signifies the French defense. If you want to learn all about the French defense, Warren did a lecture in our class last Friday in our advanced group, and I'm going to edit that and upload it to YouTube shortly. So I played d4. My opponent played d5. Now, there's a lot of different ways white can play here, but I like to play the advanced variation. The idea is I'm just trying to be super aggressive and I'm just trying to get as much space as possible. So I advance my pawn to e5. Anna, can you get the lights? It'll be a little more clear.
Is that called the Slav defense also?
No, that's in the Queen's Gambit Decline. That's also a video on our YouTube channel.
I like the Queen's Gambit.
So, moving on. My opponent plays c5. This is perfectly normal French stuff. And I play knight f3. This is also okay, although it's not the first move. The first move is actually c3, which I play later. And then my opponent plays queen b6. I'd never actually seen this move before. Now it's very, very common in the French defense. It's played all the time. I just didn't have much experience with it. So I made a little mistake around it, and you'll see. So I play c3 because essentially what I'm doing is I'm saving this d4 pawn, because right now he has 1, 2 attackers, and before I only had 1 and 2 defenders. So I'm just adding another defender to this d4 pawn because more pressure is coming. In fact, there it is right there. There's that knight attack. So now I need all those defenders because d4 could be taken at any point, and I need defenders for it. Okay, so here I make a huge mistake. I miscount, and I think, okay, he has 3 attackers, and for some reason I didn't realize that I had 3 defenders, so I thought I needed another defender on that pawn. So I made a bad move. I made that move right there. And this is a blunder because it leaves that pawn open for attack, and now all of a sudden my rook's in major trouble. The only way I can save my rook and save my knight is by making this silly move, and then he grabs a second pawn with a nasty pin. So I am in deep trouble. I'm down 2 pawns. It's the opening. I'm playing a lot stronger player, but I have a lot of time, so I'm not giving up. Okay. In fact, I have a thing, I don't know how you do, but when I get behind, I get kind of angry, and that causes me to want to try harder. Anyway, so I try harder. And play continues. I want to get what we call counterplay. I want to give him some stuff to worry about. He's all up in my face. I want to give him stuff to worry about. Now, this is kind of an empty threat. There's no real problem here. There's a number of different ways to break it. That pin, that's one way. So again, I just want to make him think. I want to, create a threat for him. He reacts, and now he's attacking my bishop, so I need to defend my bishop, so I defend my bishop. Now he plays c4. He's grabbing even more space, and that's a passed pawn. It's a nasty passed pawn, and I castle. I get my king out of this pen, and I castle. Okay, now he plays knight ge7, just developing a piece, but it's a mistake. And it's a mistake that I spent about 10 minutes thinking about this next move. And finally, when I thought about it for 10 minutes, I finally came up with the right reply, and it's to sacrifice the bishop. Now, it doesn't look altogether obvious why I do that. Essentially, what I'm doing is I'm thinking that this this knight is going to be able to get here and be really, really nasty. Okay, because this knight's in the way. So that's my plan. All right, so
Oh, I
he
know what you're doing.
so he takes with the pawn, and he thought I was going to recapture with rook, and he was going to, I talked to him after the game, he thought I was going to recapture with rook, so I only spent about 30 seconds thinking about this, but I recapture with knight.
Yeah,
I'm attacking his queen. His queen has to move. He moves his queen, now I'm checking him. Now he has to move his king, so he can no longer castle. And now I threaten checkmate, because if I'm allowed, I'll play knight takes f7, and that's checkmate with two knights. Anyway, but obviously he's not going to allow that to happen, so he makes pretty much the only move that defends against checkmate. But I take that pawn anyway. He recaptures, I recapture, check him again, he moves his king, I grab his rook.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have played really well now, and I've clawed my way back into this game. But my knight is stuck. It can't get out. So I have to rescue my knight somehow. So I play queen to f3. And he plays... I wish I could... I wonder if there's any way... What I'd like to do...
Have you increased your rating?
Actually, I haven't played any rated tournaments in a while, so I don't even know what my playing strength is right now, to be honest with you. Okay, here we go. Boom. Haha, now you can't... Well... All right, now you can't... now I can control kind of what you see. Wahaha, you can't see my moves. All right, so my opponent plays knight to d5. Now he has to do that because my queen could go to f7, and that would be really nasty, right? But now he's defending that with his queen, and he's also preventing me from extricating my knight this way, because queen could take, and then if queen takes, king takes, and he's ahead. So I still can't get my knight out, and I have to figure out a way to get my knight out. So I create another threat. I move my queen over to h3. The idea is I'm attacking this pawn. If I can take this pawn, I feel really good about my chances. But of course he sees that I want to do that, and he defends that pawn. And now this is where I utilize a tactic called clearance. And I use the tactic called clearance to create more attacking opportunities. And I want you to take about 30 seconds and just see if you can figure out white to play here. What did I play? Just don't say it out loud, just think.
Wait, did you make a mistake?
Dude, don't.
No, I actually played the best move.
Oh, okay.
Just wait.
Can't see the letters.
Doesn't matter, man. We're not gonna talk about it.
Okay, what do you think?
Bishop to the 5 on the right.
To g5?
Yes.
To right here?
No,
Okay.
there's nothing protecting it.
No, but anything clean out position so you can.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was saying. Here.
That is what I played.
Yeah.
I played bishop to g5. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm sacrificing this bishop because the queen can just take it. And I know that. But what I'm doing is I'm pulling the queen away, and now I can take that pawn. I only get a pawn for the bishop for right now. But I've got a really strong attack going, and his queen's out of position. Now I do have to be a little concerned, by the way. I have to be concerned about, you know, what his queen's prospects are. But right now I'm on the attack, yes.
Right now, he has only 3 legal moves, which would be or to run away,
Mhm.
or to block with one of the knights,
Okay,
or the queen.
you can't run away. If the king
Yeah.
moves here, then knight here wins the queen.
He can, he shouldn't, but he can.
He shouldn't, but he can. Yes, he should not move the king. He should instead block. And there are 3 pieces that can block.
I would choose knight, so it's still defending your knight, and if, I'd still, knight,
So,
other knight.
other knight. From the knight from d5 blocks.
But then if you just play your queen
Now, this actually makes a lot of sense because later on this knight it might be able to move to f5, which is a really common square for that knight to go to in the French defense. So that knight is fine, but now I can get this knight out with tempo on the queen. The queen has to move, so I get a free knight move essentially. So the queen moves. Now the queen is attacking my pawn on d4, but I'm not overly concerned about that right now.
Knight D6? Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, because now I have check, and it's very difficult to say where that king might go. So king slides over, but now I have this check, and I grab another pawn. And now the king only has a few places to go. So the king comes and attacks my knight. Now,
You could have checkmated.
there is a checkmate actually from this position, but it's a mate in 7 or 8, and I didn't see it when I was playing the game.
You could have mated him by move your horse back. You could have checkmated by putting your queen there. No, never mind.
Rook takes
never mind.
queen.
Yeah, rook takes.
No, what I made was the correct move. Actually, if you look at this with the computer will say that I've now made 14 straight moves in a row that were perfect. And I've actually never played that well before or since. But here, I don't make the perfect move. The perfect move would have been checkmate in 7. I didn't do that. Instead, I played knight a5. And when I analyzed it, I was like, oh man, I missed a mate in 7 or 8 or whatever it was. But GM Lev Albert says, yes, this line wins fastest, but the knight a5 line is as strong and easier to handle. So I felt better about that. Okay, so I have all sorts of threats. I have the threat of developing a rook to the b file.
Oh, yeah.
I have all sorts of pieces that I've got 2 attackers now on this knight. If ever I can.
Three.
Oh yeah, the rook. I have 3 attackers on this knight, and so this knight is pinned and can't take my knight on a5, and so he slides queen over to defend. Okay, now I check and push him out of the way, and I'll admit right here it's not perfect computer play. It's not. And then I slide that knight over, check, over again, get tempo on the queen, and now I'm going to win a piece because I'm going to move that queen out of the way. Well, trade queens, and now I'm going to win that knight. So I've just won another piece. Hi.
What time does this end?
4:15.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I won another piece, and now my opponent really could resign. He doesn't resign, and I don't blame him. I'm 200 points lower than him. And it is the first round of the tournament, so it's really important. But play, actually I'm going to shrink this so you can see it all, but so play continues. I check, get more pieces activated, and I think that I'm going to have a tactic to win his knight, but I overlooked his little a5 move, which is nice. So now I try to get my other knight involved, and he's trying to block it out. And then I try to break apart his pawns so I can get that knight involved, and he thinks of that too. So now I just double up my rooks and try to play that way. And here, I actually made this e6 move pretty much instantly, and I felt pretty good about it. And the reason is this. Now, I'm going to win the bishop, like that. Okay? And now he's threatening my rook, doesn't matter, I'm just going to double him again. And now he's got some counterplay, but all I have to worry about is I've got a flight square for my king over here on h2, so I'm not worried about any back rank mate stuff things. And I know I've got him in kind of a bind. And now I can push that pawn and force it to promote. It does take a little longer to get it to promote, and obviously he has to sacrifice his rook for it. And again, he could resign, but he doesn't, so I take his knight. And he's probably hoping for a stalemate here. So I know that all I have to do is remove his ability for counterplay, and then leave him some legal moves. Like he can capture my pawn now, it doesn't matter, I'll just keep pushing and promote. And now he goes over here to threaten my rook, and here's where I thought I made kind of a silly move, but an effective move.
Sacrifice.
I just played d6.
That's what I would do.
And
I've so done that.
he takes my rook, and then I just trap his king.
Oh my. Clap, 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 Mr. Player.
And then from here, after he took my pawn, he resigned, because he realizes that I'm just gonna promote that pawn to a queen, and then it's gonna be mate.
Yeah, I can.
So, this is one of the best games I've ever played. I mean, there were some weaknesses in it, there were some technical issues with it, but I want to introduce you to this idea of clearance. Getting a piece out of the way through a sacrifice or just through a good move so that you can accomplish some goals that you want to accomplish. So this is me as a mediocre player against someone who's a little better than me, but by no means an expert. And incidentally, I still see him at tournaments sometimes. I want to show you instead an example of clearance that comes from one of the greatest, two of the greatest players of all time, actually. So this is Mikhail Botvinnik playing white against Jose Raul Capablanca playing black. And Capablanca was world champion for many, many years in the in the early 1920s through about 1927, when Al Yakin defeated him and took the World Chess Championship. And Mikhail Botvinnik, this is 1938, but Mikhail Botvinnik would become World Chess Champion in 1947, I think it was, and he would stay World Champion and lose his title and regain his title and lose his title and regain his title. He was World Champion on several of occasions, but he's one of the best players from the USSR. Capablanca is from Cuba. And in this position, Botvinnik is white, Capablanca is black, and the last move was queen to e7 right here. Black played queen e7. And this just helps defend this knight, and it prevents white from making any progress with his attack. And it blockades this passed pawn. This passed pawn can't go any further because the queen's in the way. So I want you to take about 30 seconds, and I want you to try to figure out what white should be doing long term to try to make progress, because otherwise this is just going to end in a draw, because the material, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the material is pretty much equal. In fact, black is up a pawn. Yeah, black has a passed a pawn. So just take 30 seconds and think. That's 30 seconds. Carter, what do you think?
Queen sacrifice on. Does anyone know what they can't tell? Bishop center.
You can't sack the queen. Sacking the queen would cause you to lose way too much material. You'd just
But
be.
if you sack the queen, the pawn takes, and you take the pawn check. You take the queen, take their queen. Now you're passing pawn.
What do you mean, like? Are you talking about like queen takes d5 or something?
No, queen takes.
Knight?
No, queen take. You can't see the numbers.
Well, the queen can't take any other pieces.
No,
Can take this knight or this pawn.
Queen does not. Queen doesn't take a piece. Queen just goes right there, but I can't see any numbers.
Oh, queen goes to f5?
Yeah.
And then pawn takes?
And then you check. Then you take with the knight check. Didn't take the queen. Now you're passing pawn.
No, you just move the king back here, and you're fine.
Yeah, I didn't take the queen.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're saying queen here, pawn takes, knight takes with a fork.
Yeah.
Well, for one, you don't have to take the queen. Right? So if taking the queen is bad, then you just don't take it. Jack?
Oh, yeah.
Knight to h5 with check.
Oh, wait, no, wait, no.
But then pawn just takes.
The bishop. Yeah.
Yeah, bishop a3, yeah.
Bishop a3 is exactly what Botvinnik plays, but I want you to think through the continuation. Hold on. Bishop a3, queen takes a3, and then what?
Pawn up, pawn up.
No, then queen just takes. Oh, sorry, queen doesn't take. Sorry, then the king moves over to f7.
If you're talking about the queen, so really it's no threat.
Right, the queen can you could just force a queen trade and get that pawn. It's probably, it's going to be a win for black in that case because you sacrificed that bishop in vain. So bishop a3, queen takes a3.
Push the pawn.
You don't know.
You push the pawn.
Well, okay, so
Queen.
bishop a3, queen takes a3,
Queen.
push the pawn,
Queen beat it.
king over.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see now. Oh. Queen beat it.
There's the knight on the.
Oh yeah, there's.
Maybe. Queen.
So, just so you see it a little more clearly,
Queen C7.
No, yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, queen. No, yeah, queen C7.
queen c7 check.
Yeah.
And then.
That's probably just going to lead to a draw.
You don't know that.
You're not
You
very
did not
nice,
know
really.
that thing.
That's probably just going to lead to it. And there's a couple ways it could lead to a draw. It could lead to the king going here and then the queen playing here with check, and the king going back, king going. It could be a draw, right? The only winning move for white, and this is what Botvinnik had to see before he even played bishop a3, which makes it such a beautiful move, and one beyond most of our understanding at the moment, is he then followed up with knight h5. He sacrificed the knight as well. Now let's look what happens here. Pawn takes. Check. King moves back. We get the knight back. Okay? So our sacrifice isn't in vain, and we've got a very strong attack. And the queen cannot block. And now we push this pawn up. And Capablanca at this point is, as Warren would like to say, he is roasted. There is nothing he can do. What he tries to do is he tries to check a bunch and force a draw that way, but he quickly runs out of checks and he loses. It's currently black's turn to move.
Why can't black go to C1 and checkmate? Oh wait, no, it's not checkmate.
It's not checkmate. Yes, Sirian.
Instead of moving the pawn up.
Oh, pawn up is just the best move easily.
Yeah, but if he had checked with the queen,
Then
And push the king over to h8.
yeah,
I don't think that's necessary.
it's your response, man.
it gets that to be stuck,
But it's
and then the queen stays there. You can double move up your
It's the
pawn.
same thing.
The result would have been the exact same, it just would have taken a move longer. So watch what happens. Pawn up, now we go, uh-oh, desperation check. Check again. Check again. Check again. Check again. Check again. We block it. And now, can you see a way for the queen to deliver check?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How? For the black queen to deliver check.
No, queen. I don't know. I don't know. what-
Yes.
Queen.
And then,
There's no
how
move.
does the queen deliver check now?
There isn't any move.
There.
Well, yeah, there is a move, but it
Oh.
would be killing his queen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at this point, Capablanca resigns. He cannot deliver any more checks. And on the next move, well, not the next move, because, if white could play again, white would just checkmate right here. But he's either going to get checkmated, or this pawn's going to promote, and he's going to have to trade his queen for it. And then he's just going to be a queen down in the endgame. Either way, Capablanca is over and done with. He can't deliver any more checks. So even though he could pick up this pawn or something, it's just made on the next turn.
He could just
Is there anything?
take the pawn with queen, and then he probably won't checkmate him.
Yeah,
Of course he will. These are grandmasters.
Oh yeah.
Queen versus knight in the endgame, that's game over.
Coach Anderson, can you go back 3 moves, I think? 1, 2. Okay. No, yeah, here. Why doesn't black do.
Why doesn't white? It's white's move.
Oh, it's white?
Yeah.
White's move. Um,
See, he's been constantly checking,
I think it's.
constantly checking, ran out of checks. Right?
Here.
Watch.
Um,
Check, move. Check, move. Check.
But here,
Yeah.
instead of checking on, I think that's D,
That's
Three?
D3. Yeah.
he could go to
Take the pawn.
G. He could go to G6.
Oh. Well, that's fun. That's fun. Okay, so queen here
Yes.
takes, promotes.
Queen down in the endgame.
Right?
No,
But then now, black. If white.
passing pawns.
Yeah, black can use the knight to keep getting
So?
past the pawn.
A passed pawn against a queen, 2 passed pawns against a queen. Unless those pawns are like down here or further, unless they're this close to promoting and they're connected. I mean, two connected passed pawns on this row for black would be about as strong as a rook. And same thing for here for white. Two connected passed pawns here together would be about a rook in strength, even though they're only 2 points. But these connected pawns here, whoop-de-doo, got plenty of time to pick them off. These pawns over here, same thing. We got plenty of time to pick them off. Or we could probably just deliver checkmate before they even promote. Anyway, so we ran out of checks, and then he resigns. So this all happened because of this bishop a3 move. And I don't know if Botvinnik saw that this was going to lead. He probably did see that this was going to lead to either checkmate or promotion. He probably saw that far. And Capablanca didn't have much of a choice. If he moves his queen anywhere, that pawn's just going to push one square closer to promotion, right? So this was just a brilliant move. A lot of commentators give this what we call a double exclam, 2 exclamation points, showing that it's just a brilliant, beautiful, unexpected move. So this is another example of attraction, or clearance or attraction. You're pulling the queen away from something else. So you're clearing the queen out of the way, in this case so that your pawn can go. And in my case, it was you're pulling the queen out of the way so that the queen can initiate an attack. Now, I'm not saying that you're always attracting the queen out, but oftentimes, or you're not always clearing the queen, but oftentimes a clearance involves a sacrifice. And you only want to sacrifice, you don't want to clear out a bishop with a bishop, for example.
Yeah, but couldn't he,
But a queen,
Can you go to when he resigned?
there's no possible move
Yeah,
here.
couldn't you checkmated with the queen just going to next
Yeah.
to the king?
If it's white to move again, yes, but it's black's move. So, I mean, black can prevent that from happening, but he can't prevent losing the game. I mean, black could just take that pawn, and then the queen can't deliver checkmate anymore by itself. But it's
Yeah,
over.
that's what I was saying
Wait,
before.
pawn takes, queen takes, knight takes, queen goes
No, knight doesn't
somewhere.
take because then knight dies.
By what?
The pawn. Knight
Yeah,
takes
then
here?
Push the pawn.
Yeah, but the queen has plenty of time to get there to take it out.
The queen has 2 moves to get there.
Yeah. So anyway, I just want to introduce you to the tactic of clearance, and I'm going to create a problem set in chess tempo for you to practice it